We have a rainy day fund here.
We do.
That's unheard of in the state where I come from.
We have $11 billion in our rainy day fund. To give you an example, California has less than $4 billion. And we have...
I'm surprised they have any.
I know. I think that's because they charge a lot of taxes, so they're able to beef that up.
Right. So tell me about this, because I was unaware, quite frankly, until I started reading the story and reading about the bill that you're authoring, that we, as the state, were in possession of gold bars. Like we even had this, this standard, that we had this investment.
Sure. So the bill's passed now, it's officially signed, and what it calls for is the creation of a gold vault, right? So we're going to create a state bullion depository where private individuals, corporations, entities, anybody can basically store their gold inside of a Texas-controlled bank.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Is that going to be available to people outside of Texas?
It'll be available to everyone.
Because of course we're capitalists as well.
Hey, we'll take anybody's money in Texas.
So this, and from what I understand, Texas is the only state to have this.
That's right. This is the first time it's ever been done. Both we're the only state to have any gold in and of itself, but it's also the very first time for this bill or this depository to be created. And it's obviously, as you can tell, it's made a lot of waves.
Oh yeah. How many bars do we own?
Under UTIMCO, we have about 5,000 bars of gold, which is worth today about $650 million.
Oh, wow.
But I think really as private investors and private individuals and corporations, they'll all be able to put their gold here too.
Where were these bars if they were not in Texas? Where were they being stored?
New York City.
New York City? Now we're in an old El Paso commercial. Why New York City? That is so odd to me. Now I can understand the need to get it back because it's the Federal Reserve's in New York. So is that why?
Well, part of it is we're paying, right? We're paying a storage fee to have it housed in what's HSBC Bank in New York City. And it doesn't make sense if we have our own depository for us to be paying anybody else, right, to be able to store their gold. But also, I think it's better to have it closer to home, right?
So, I mean, were there concerns that, because it's New York, we know how, how New York government is. Were we concerned at all that they were going to pick off a couple bars or?
I think there's definitely.
You hesitated, so I'm like, yeah, there's some truth to that. There's a headline instead of the Secession.
Well, when I first filed this, it was pretty interesting. A lot of people thought that there was no gold there at all. There's a lot of concern, and that's one of the things that our depository takes care of, is that a lot of people borrow against the gold deposits. They do derivatives, futures, forwards. So if you look at Greece, for instance, there's a lot of people waiting in line right now to try and get their 60 euros a day, because that's what they're giving, because there's not as much paper money as there is total amount of deposits. Right. So what this depository will do is it will say you can only withdraw as much as you put into it. It's novel, right? What's in there is what's out of there. So because we're doing that, we take care of the concerns that some people have in terms of what gold in other places that New York City or Federal Reserve, that gold possibly isn't there.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We'll take care of that.
What is the process in terms of bringing it back? I mean, I'm imagining, a giant caravan of heavily guarded
Die Hard
trucks.
3 or something like that. Well, the first is we have to go and go through the comptroller's process of determining where the depository will be, setting up the rules for the banking system. But then we've talked to a lot of private contractors who have talked about it's actually not as exciting as a bunch of tanks going down. I know it's.
I was like thinking in headlines. There's another one. It's
a lot of cargo flights, inside of multiple airplanes that could transport it here.
Because I get the sense in talking to you that this became kind of maybe not an emergency or a super urgent concern, but it was something that was pressing upon you. And what was that motivation? Like, why now? Why not, in all the years prior?
Well, first, this is something that's in the state Republican Party platform in order to be able to go and come up with an alternative to the Federal Reserve.
Right.
So besides a depository, besides having a place to put our gold back, bring our gold back to, it creates an electronic system of transactions where you and any other individual can use this depository to make payments, whether it's at the grocery store or whether it's to pay your taxes, completely outside of the Federal Reserve System. And so this is something that I've been looking at a long time in terms of from the concept of auditing the feds all the way to, hey, it's another federal agency. Why should we have a middleman with the federal government involved there when the state of Texas can do it better?
Right.